Hello, guys, and welcome to today's outlook and discussion for the off season of the hurricane season. And we got a lot to talk about here, including two tropical cyclones that probably will be a threat to land in Australian region and the Western Pacific. Before we get to that, we are here at Cyclonic Weather. I want to thank Alex for this wonderful website. And we are here looking at the NOAA coral reef watch sea surface temperatures here in the Inzo regions. And you can see here, we got some 26.5s, 26s, and we even got some greens popping up here. That's some minimal 26s there. There has been some easterly wind bursts in some of these locations, so hence some of these places have cooled down just a little bit, but nothing compared to what we have here in the eastern Pacific in the 1.2 regions where we're looking at freaking near 30 degrees Celsius waters here, which are really warm for that area. And you can see here, the 3.4 region, it's looking about normal. It's looking about normal. And then the 3.4 region, still kind of, it's been rising, but we're still kind of, we're slightly above average in those regions there. All right, so now we're going to take a look at the NOAA Coral Reef Watch temperature anomalies here, and as you can see here near the Peru coast, like dear Lord, we're getting up to 5.5 degrees above the long-term average, which is absolutely ridiculous. These, I mean, they haven't really been moving to the west too much. We're probably going to be looking at these, warm waters coming from the Western Pacific and moving eastward as we move out through the summer. But most of this, Enzo region here is looking pretty average to slightly below average here in the Nino 3. Not 3.4, but Nino 3 area of the Enzo region. Well, we're just gonna have to see how over time that all comes together. But right now, it's neutral. It's dead on neutral in a lot of these areas. All right. So speaking of the 3.4 region, we are nearly negative zero point 0.1 degrees Celsius cooler. So we had a little bit of a cool down in the past little bit. Is that cool down going to continue going forward? I believe so, but we're not going to, obviously that's not going to last forever. I do feel like in the next, month or so, those temperatures could be rising again. But we are now getting towards the crunch time of, are we going to get El Nino during the peak season, or are we going to get El Nino a little bit past the peak season? Because obviously, with the atmosphere, it's going to need time to catch up with the warming sea surface temperatures. So we're going to have to see how this all pans out going forward in time, because this is very, very important now. We're in April. The hurricane seasons start, May 15th, June 1st, and it's starting to become crunch time on how strong this Nino is going to be when we get to peak hurricane season. All right, so here is another look at the Enzo 3.4 region. This is from the OISST, and this is just another branch in NOAA. So as we can see here, this one is above average, not like the Coral Reef Watch, which is below average. This is a little bit above average. We're sitting at exactly zero point 0.1 degrees above the long-term average. So, you know, we're going to have to see which one of these is correct. Obviously, I don't use CDAS anymore. I used to use CDAS, but I've heard it's not exactly ideal to use for SSTs because of some biases that it has. All right, one more thing here on these sea surface temperatures, and then we're going to move on to some actual tropics. And this is this SOI. This is the Southern Isolation Index, and this is important because the higher the number, The stronger the La Nina, the lower the number into the negatives, the stronger the El Nino. And right now, since my last update on the 1st, as you see here, April 1st, we were at the 30-day average of 2.93, but now we can fast forward to the 5th, and we are now at an average of negative 4.08. So it has dipped about a degree, -1 in the last 4 days. So it looks like right now it's taking a little bit of a flat line, but we're gonna have to watch this going forward because this tells you what the atmosphere is like in the lag that it has behind the warm waters or the cool waters, and in this case, it's the warm waters that we are seeing if we get farther down in the negatives with that. Okay, so we are going to take a look, and I need to get these correct here. We are going to take a look at the tropics here, and we are taking a look at Invest 98S here. This is located at 7.0 south, 134.9 east, and the maximum sustained winds are at 15 knots or 20 miles per hour. Maximum central pressure is 1,010 millibars, and the models are really bullish with this system. And we're going to take a look here at the satellite imagery, and as you can see, there is some decent spin to it. It's pretty disorganized, but the vorticity is really strong with the system, so I see no reason why this won't develop here in the near future. And speaking of the GEFS here, as you can see, there's some really strong, ensemble members here with this. And at this point, I hate to say it, but I don't think there's any way this avoids Australia. That is just my, what it looks like on models right now, that Australia is probably going to get the brunt of the system going forward. So with that being said, here is the GFS here, and this was initialized at 12Z. And as you can see, this is our little lump right here where you see these yellows and oranges. That is where our system is. And as you can see, it starts to come together here in the next like 18 hours or so. And some of these Indonesian island chains are just going to get dumped on with rain here as we head out through time. Obviously you want to, turn around, don't drown, and all that, stuff here. And as you can see, it kind of takes its time organizing a little bit after we get past that point. But once we get towards the hour 20 mark, that's when it starts to take off a little bit. We're going to go out to day 6 and day 7 because, in the Atlantic, we're going to have 7-day twos. So maybe we'll go and look out, 6 to 7 days here. As you can see, 126, we're looking at that's a category 1 at least here. Let's take a look at the soundings here. They're pretty good. 91% relative humidity and only in about 15 knots of shear. That's decent. And hour 50, 965 millibars. Looking at 22 knots of shear, that's a little bit more so-so on the shear side. 79% relative humidity, and as you can see, rapid intensification all the way to landfall. 931 millibars. That is close to a Category 5 landfalling, system here in Australia. Obviously, this is like 7 days out, right? And there's definitely some time for this to change. So, the people in Northwest, Australia need to really pay attention to this one, and I will definitely be, on the lookout for this as well. So here is the ECMWF, and it takes a little bit longer for this to consolidate than it does the GFS. But as it does, it's going to get strong, a little bit strong too. It doesn't get as strong as the GFS, but it's still Category 1, going on to Category 2 status as it's making landfall here on the northwest, Australian coast. I don't think that there is it's going to be hard for this thing to miss Australia at this point. I do believe because you know there's a trough here. You see this trough here. That's probably going to drag it along here, and this obviously is creating weaknesses in the ridge here. So this trough right here is very 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 important for the final destination of the system. I will definitely keep you guys posted on this. Obviously, we won't go past 5 days all the time, but I feel like this was one of those exceptions, just so there's awareness. I go that far for awareness. Simple as that. All right, so here is Invest 90W, and this could be a rainfall threat for the Philippines here. And we're gonna take a quick look at the infrared here, and this is pretty disorganized too. Obviously, these just got designated as invest, so it's going to take a little bit of time for these to really start to spin up and create more centralized convection in order for these to really spread their wings and grow as tropical cyclones. Not that we want them to affect the land. Now, it would be a different story if these were out to sea storms, because we like those. We just don't like them when they affect the land. All right. So we're going to look at the GFS here. This was an size of 12Z. And as you can see, it takes a while for this to really, really just get going here. And here's the 7-day mark. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's the 7-day mark here. Sorry, I had a little bit of a time confusion there. But as you can see, gets up to 986 millibars as we, go out through the next 7 days. And this is a Category 1 typhoon here. And it looks like the rain shield is barely off the Philippine coast. Like, there may be some, like, right here on this edge here and going a little bit inland. But as we can see with the European here, initialized at 12Z. We're going to go out, and as you can see, it takes its time. It's monsoonal, so it's going to take its time here. And this gets real close to the Philippines, and it just crawls, man. It crawls. That is not exactly what you want for the islands of the Philippines. And we're going to take a look at the total accumulation precipitation here. And we're looking at 10 to 12 inches of rain in some of these locations. Think about that. That's a foot of rain. Like, I know you have your Harveys, right, that dump like 5 feet of rain, but each location is different. A foot of rain is just a lot in just any place. So obviously, we got some depictancies. I probably said that word wrong, but hopefully you guys understand what I was trying to say. But there is some differences, small differences in track and location from the GFS and the European. And we're going to check one more thing here. We're going to take a look at the total rainfall here from the GFS too. And yeah, if this was anywhere more west than it was on this, then you're talking about these nearly 2 feet of rainfall totals right on some of these Philippine islands, and that's just not a very good look at all. So we are really hoping this trends more east than trending more west, because if the GFS trends more west, then it's going to be a washout here in the Philippines. So, with that being said, here in the next update, we may be talking about something tropical, subtropical in the Atlantic. I'm not going to talk about that now because it's a little bit too far off. But the models are sniffing. They're getting whiff of something, tropical or subtropical in the Atlantic. So that might be something we talk about in the next video. But with that being said, I want to thank you guys for watching. I love doing this for you guys. and I will continue this grind going forward. So until probably Saturday or Sunday, I want to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys on the next one.